Namaste everyone. Welcome to this webinar series of Indic Studies Toronto. Today the topic is Indian Performing Arts, Dance, Music and Folklore. And we have with us Dr. Ragasudha Vinjamuri. She's an associate lecturer at the University of Sunderland in London, UK. She's an accomplished classical dancer herself and has founded the Sanskruti Centre for Cultural Excellence for training and highlighting the cultural diversity of India in the UK. Today, she will talk about lesser known folk and tribal dance forms and the ways to promote dance to feature environmental advocacy. So, Namaste Ragasudha and welcome to the show. Please continue.
Namaste, everyone, and namaste, the team of Indic Studies Toronto. It's a wonderful opportunity to actually share what little I know about dance, about some specific things that we can do using our art forms. And I hope the audiences gain from this short duration of interaction. It's a huge topic. Art in itself, whether it is performing or creative or any other art forms, art itself is an ocean. So to encompass something in the given time is a very huge challenge. But the objective is to raise awareness, to bring something, as a take-home message to our attendees and audiences. So I try to actually do my best in compressing this information into the time frame that we have. So namaste once again. Welcome to the session. The arts. Indian performing arts, and we are speaking about obviously huge focus on dance. Me being a dancer, the huge focus is dance, and we will also touch a little bit on how contemporarily music and folklore are used and can be used for greater human good. And what I would like to start with is, in our texts, there are 64 arts mentioned. 64 kalaएं, or Chatushashti kala, as they say. And what I would like to do is give some references where these can be found, so that people who would like to obviously do something more, read something more, understand something more, can go back to these references and do their bit as well. So these 64 arts are mentioned in our texts, as I told you, in our Puranas. So specifically Agni Purana, Bhagavata Purana, Sivatattva Ratnakaram is a huge compendium. We can find in other texts also. We have taken, what I wanted to do is just give you some names so that they will be useful to you. Now, in Bhagavata Purana, for example, I'll just give you one example. It is mentioned that Lord Krishna and his brother Balarama both have been trained in all the 64 arts, because they were supposed to be ruling. I mean, they were reckoned as future, leaders. So they have been trained, and there is a very specific mention in Bhagavata Purana. And of course, as I said, there are several other mentions that we find, major ones being these three. And very clearly, they say that Geetam Vadyam Tatha Nrutyam, it is a conglomeration, it is a confluence of music. You cannot separate music from dance. Dance on its own will not exist without an accompaniment of music, instruments, and paraphernalia. So it is an accepted fact, and and that's what should happen as well. So dance is obviously complete along with music and, of course, musical instruments. This is what is given in our scriptures as well. Now, what I would like to do again for for the benefit of practitioners as well as enthusiasts and dance learners, I would like to mention some chronology of dance texts, so that again, we as dancers and dance practitioners, we obviously refer to Natya Shastra. A lot of times there is already a huge mention of it, and a lot of us will be referring to it. Okay, so about say roughly, though the exact time period is a little disputed, but it's about say 1st century BC to 1st century AD is what is an accepted timeline for Natya Shastra. We are talking about the text, not the practice, but the text. So about 2000 year old, roughly 2000, 2100 years old. Obviously, it was a very, very, very huge compendium, 36 chapters, huge, I can say it's an ocean of reference for us, which has survived over centuries for us now to use. Of course, by Bharata Muni, and it's very huge, as I said, 12,000 shlokas, but it is obviously the text form that is available for us is reduced to 6,000 shlokas, obviously. Okay, and then we also have about 6th to 8th century. So roughly about 600 years later, we also have what is called as Bharatarnava and also Abhinaya Darpana. These two are very, very important texts when it comes to dance, references to dance. And another very, very most important commentary on Natya Shastra has come from our Kashmiri scholar, Abhinavagupta. This is around 10th century. So you see, from say around 1st century BC to about, by the time we came to 6th, 8th and 10th centuries, already, about 1,000 years have passed roughly. Okay, so but we have these very useful and very important texts that are available today for us to refer to, go back, read what was given as theory and improvise on it, interpret it and improvise on it, because experimentation is always possible. Now, my favorite is Manasollasa, about 12th century by King Someswara. And as I said, I'm providing you some references, at least half dozen of them. So you can go back with this information and probably get inspired to do something about it. Read, if not anything else, just at least read. So Manasollasa is again a very, very, very huge work. Dance is a part of it. It is not just dance. You have all other things. Even in Natya Shastra, it is not just dance. Dance, in fact, you will be very surprised to know, dance has been added much later. The element of dance or the description of dance was added later. It was actually a text for dramaturgy. It was on drama, Natya, drama. And then dance obviously was added much later. The Tandava, the Shivas and the Lasya Parvatis. This was added much later, and it is given in the Natyotpatti, in the text itself. So Manasollasa by King Someshwara, 12th century. So we are already like into 1200 years from Natya Shastra roughly. And then also Sangeeta Ratnakara. Now Sangeeta Ratnakara is a huge work, very important, vital work on music. Okay, on music, as the name suggests, Sangeeta Ratnakara. But it has one complete dedicated chapter on dance. And a very, very important, when later centuries, when we find other works also, why I'm giving, we should not restrict ourselves to Natya Shastra alone, because there have been improvisations, interpretations, some additions, value additions. Later scholars have the practitioners. We have had practitioners all the time, right? So scholars and practitioners out of practice, out of not theory, but out of practice, they have added their bits to it. So it is also important to understand the whole journey of dance in texts. So Sangeeta Ratnakara is again a very, very important text from around 13th century. Much based, later texts would have been much based on Natya Shastra again. But as I said, improvisations, additions, something out of practice would have come. So a lot of value addition has happened ever since. And in some parts of India, for some art forms, now we are actually talking about dance in general. I'm not particularly talking about Bharatanatyam or Odissi or Kathakali, etc. I'm not talking about any art form specifically. But when it comes to practice, in some parts of India, some texts are in vogue. For example, Hastamuktavali probably is not used by everyone throughout India. It is used in specific regions. We will come back to regions shortly. So Hastamuktavali is also used for the gestures, hand gestures, and other explanations, which was authored by Subhankara Kavi. And this is 17th century. So we are almost into what we are today. So we are talking about 300 years, 400 years from now going back. And another very important text, and this is again my own feeling that I should mention this at least. A lot of people perhaps not even know Balarama Bharatam. Again, this is something which is very lesser known, but a very important text by Raja Balarama Varma from Kerala. He has actually contributed quite a bit in terms of documenting, in terms of the description, in terms of reproducing certain things. Very useful and meaningful, and this is something that probably this is actually available in some of the archives and some of the libraries, so you can go back and read. Very wonderful. And here I'm not, again, as I said, mentioning the regional languages, but a lot of work has been done regionally, but most of these texts that I have mentioned are in Sanskrit. Okay, so it is important to understand that dance documentation through texts has been done for about 2000 years now, and it will be quite important as well as interesting for us to actually follow these texts or read these texts. And as I said, practitioners and the learners would refer to either Abhinaya Darpana or Natya Shastra, because they should know what the Hasta Lakshanas are, what the mudras mean, etc. Okay, so now we have already noted that Natya Shastra is perhaps one of the oldest, which is not that there was nothing before Natya Shastra, but there are the texts are not available. We lost them, but the extensive work that has been documented is in form of Natya Shastra. Now, in Natya Shastra itself, there are vrittis and pravrittis mentioned. So I'll just restrict myself to English terms here. So there are 4 regional styles, regional cultures that are mentioned in Natya Shastra itself. Here I have to obviously use the same term and then the English equivalent. So we have Dakshinatya. Dakshin is, of course, we are talking about southern part of Bharat, India. And then we have Avanti, which is the western part of India, western side of India. And Panchala Madhyama. Panchala Madhyama is northern, now in modern terms, central to north. So to Madhya Pradesh and above Himachal Pradesh, Kashmir. So Panchala Madhyama. And we have Audra Magadhi. Audra Magadhi is eastern part of India. So whatever dance forms we have, because this is very clearly talking about regional styles. So it is not that it is restricted to Bharatanatyam or restricted to classical dancing even. The folk styles, because it is very close to my heart, the folk styles, the regional styles, not that I have done anything great, but in that direction we were able to. In some time I'll just show you some of these examples through photographs. So we have 4: North India, South India, East and West. That's what even geopolitically, that's what it is known as. And this has been mentioned in Natya Shastra, that there are regional styles in dancing. And of course, for singing, it is you have Aranya Gana, for example. Aranya Gana means you have forest people's styles as well. It's not about only Hindustani or only Carnatic vocal, but you have Aranya Gana as well. So again, regional styles. The nomenclature may be different, but by and large, generally, what we have to understand is that there are regional cultures or regional styles in dance and as I said, music existing from thousands of years ago. It's not something that we discovered, or it's not something which is existing now 100, 200 years. No, this has been mentioned 2000 years ago, and much before that it must have existed anyway. We are talking only about the Natyotpatti, the story. Okay, so for example, in Sangita Ratnakara, which we have already seen, it is a later text that has been authored. It mentions Deshe Deshe Jananam Yadruchya Hridaya Ranjakam. So here also you have Deshe Deshe. So different areas, different regions, different parts, geographical parts have, obviously those singing styles or different types of songs, music, instruments, dances. Of course, the major focus is obviously dance for me. So you have, as far as that Rasotpatti is created, as far as it is communicated with audiences. Okay, there is a communication between the audiences and the performer, whether it is dance or music. There is a Rasotpatti. So that's when your purpose is complete. Your purpose is served when you are able to communicate. So this is what it is. We know, even theoretically, and properly mentioned in dance texts, that we have regional styles. Again, which is not a recent phenomenon, regional styles in dancing. But as I said, you also have Aranyagana, you have different songs also. Okay, so in which, when it comes to dance, there is a huge description and theory, including Hastabhinaya. So we have the gestures, what we use, or what we use. Hastabhinaya, Mukhabhinaya. Of course, the expressions are quite important, very vital part of dancing of a dancer. And the Netrabhinaya. So you have, for example, head movements, you have eye movements, you have neck movements, you have lot of, all these are mentioned in Natya Shastra, chapter wise you have different things mentioned. As I said, 36 chapters, huge compendium. So and costume, makeup, everything is chapter wise, as I mentioned. Aharya, so what costume, how, again, regional, probably, what has to be worn, what are the different, what we are talking about, jewelry, what is worn, what is, how the, the stage decor should be, etc., have all been mentioned in Natya Shastra. Okay, so what I would like to do, because that is the context here, we have seen that there are regional styles, folk styles, or tribal dances, I would say, folk or tribal dances of India. And this is where, at least I'm located in UK, and we came to London in 2006. So, of course, we will take some time to settle down, newly married, and then, you're settling in a new society, new place, or your job, and information, obviously, to find out what can be done, who should be contacted, what is existing. That's what we do, isn't it? Even in other contexts. So that has taken some time. So I was performing. I'm a classical dancer. I've been performing. Of course, fortunately, I've got nice opportunities to showcase what I know, what little I know, and I've been doing that. And my observation has been that there is a very and this is something crucial to. I know that different people are watching this webinar, and whether you are located in Canada, USA, Mauritius, anywhere that you are, probably it is the same situation. We have a proper classical dance tradition, which is, seniors, those who have come later, those who have come much later, those who are learning now. So across different layers, across different generations, there is so much contribution, practice, and work that is happening in classical dance. You name it, as Kathak or Bharatanatyam or Odissi, Mohiniyattam, different dance styles, but there is work happening, performances happening, work happening, visibility happening for classical dances. Now, exactly opposite to this is entertainment. Okay, popular culture, we can say popular culture. So exactly opposite to this is entertainment, where you have Bollywood dancing, Bollywood songs, colorful costumes. Not that the other costumes are not beautiful, but sometimes, in terms of costumes, we mimic what is being shown on the screen, on the silver screen itself. So, which is very beautiful, no doubt about it. It looks, Rasotpatti, as I said. So it looks beautiful, colorful, impressive. So, classical and Bollywood. Between these two ends of the continuum, between these two, because art, culture, entertainment, they go on. So it's a continuum. Now, between these two, where from Natya Shastra, when we know that there are regional styles, folk dances, tribal dances, nothing much was happening. This is my observation, in UK at least. And I'm sure as a case study, you can think of your own regions and areas as well. Nothing much was happening. And that is what has struck me. I said, okay, we talk about huge Bharatiya Sanskruti, Indian culture, art, performing arts. And there is so much that can be told, that can be showcased, that can be, because if you don't talk, dance is a storytelling. If you don't talk, people will not know. So you can't really find fault with audiences also, because the tellers are not telling. Therefore, the audiences or the rasikas, they don't know because it is not being told to them. This is my personal observation. So then I said, okay, classical, of course, my guru, spent 1.5 decades on me to make me what I am today. And the process is still going on. We learn by the day. Can we do this? Can we do that? Maybe this is better. Maybe this probably using this hasta lakshana, we can do this. So there's a lot of scope for experimentation. So we are still learning. I'm still learning. However, as I said, my guru, our teachers spend a lot of time chiseling us. We are stones, so we should be chiseled to whatever shape we are in. So I will continue that for probably another 2, 3, 4 decades, God willing. So classical. And then I said, okay, there is this classical dance happening, and we know theoretically, all the classical dancers know this, all the classical dancers know that Natya Shastra mentions these regional styles, and we are not just talking about classical dancing, because we have Margi Nrutya, we have Deshi Nrutya. These are also mentioned in Natya Shastra. So this is not something that I have, discovered or invented. So Margi Nrutyas and Deshi Nrutya. So Margi, classical, because they have to follow a certain protocol and they have to follow certain norms. So Margi, Deshi. And trust me, there are some dance forms which I don't remember all the names. Some of these, names that are mentioned in Natya Shastra, which we obviously have studied, but they have disappeared. You don't see them. You don't find them anymore. Over a period of time, over centuries, we just lost them. Like languages. Why do we have, according to UNESCO, why do we have endangered languages? Because the languages are not spoken, written, practiced, no work, no literature done. I mean, in the sense, no new literature being added to it. Lesser and lesser number of people utilizing or using those languages die. And, in India, for example, languages like Bishnupriya Manipuri, if you know about it, if not, it is a Northeast language. Bishnupriya Manipuri is endangered language now, according to UNESCO. You don't find many people. Of course, there's a lot of emphasis and a lot of passion. There is Sahitya Academy recognition also for some people who are still writing and doing something for that language, but it is endangered now. Likewise, we are talking about folk styles. So there are regional folk dances, and why can't we highlight them, talk about them, promote them? Why can't we? We can all, in our own way, dancers and non-dancers, organizers, enthusiasts, anybody, everybody can take up can wear that mantle and do something, do a little thing for your own state, for your own region, something that you can, support or highlight. So the Deshi and the Margi Nrityas, as I said, we have had this mentioned several thousands of years ago. In fact, in Rigveda, in our Vedic literature, there is a mention that when yajnas are done, when these Havan Kundali, when the yajnas are done, also people are invited to see some local, okay, I mean, I know when we actually use English words, we don't use the right words, but the nearest word is perhaps entertainment, to detox, to calm down, to relax, de-stress. Probably de-stress is more nearer than, but it is also entertainment. So that was done, and we are talking about Vedic literature here. In some of the texts, it is mentioned that when these huge yajnas happen, 3-day yajnas, 7-day yajnas, when that happen, people dance with rejoice. People dance with rejoice thereafter, after the puja, that is, after the rituals, and so therefore the social, the celebratory, the local regional dancing has always been there. As I said, Natya Shastra is the text that survived probably to us, is given to us. It doesn't mean dance started only from there. Dance has been there. You look at Indus Valley civilization, you look at those, the old frescoes and paintings and all that, 5,000-year-old, 6,000-year-old. You see the dancing sculptures, etc. So dance in some way or the other had been there. Only the evidences probably we would have lost some of them for different reasons. So coming back to Deshi and the Margi dances, as I said, so the Deshi, what we have done, because I thought it will be very interesting to show you some pictures, so I can exemplify what we have done. So you can take it further. So some of the and dance can be used in different contexts. It's not always about doing a Tyagaraja Kirtana or a Ramadasu Kirtana or an Annamacharya Kirtana or a Jayadevashtapadi, whatever we have, all the Margi. We have a repertoire. So we learn Jatiswaram, we learn Shabdam, we learn Tillana. We have the repertoire in different classical dance forms. But dance can be used for, as I said, storytelling, for telling the stories on some other social and even cultural subjects, some other different subjects in different contexts. So what at least I have done is, we floated about 6 years ago, roughly, we floated what is called as Jalaanjali. So Jalaanjali, water conservation. And what we started doing is creating pieces on water, small pieces on water conservation, water management, and the other we align this at least yearly once. We try to do it at least on World Water Day, which comes in March, and and for environmental advocacy, you can use it. You can dance and movement, I would say, even movements, for bringing to audiences these meaningful subjects. I myself have danced on the story of Ayurveda. Okay, so we know there are Ayurvedic treatments. Okay, jadi buti hai. It's not that. There is a story behind it. Dhanvantari. Where did Dhanvantari appear from? There is a story. Sagar Madhanam. I'm sure most of us, even in Western audiences also, they know depending upon where you are, they know the story of this huge, Sagara Madhanam. or Samudra Manthan, where, the baddies and the goodies both were there. So the Devatas and the Rakshasas, so the bad guys and the good guys. And that all of them wanted Amrit. All of them wanted that which gives them, where they can live longer. So that story. But then there are several things that have come up in that Sagar Mathan, one by one. So we had Airavata, we had Uchesrava, we had Kalpavruksha, we had several things have come out of that Sagar Mathan. Even Halahalam, the poison that Lord Shiva, that's why he is Nilakantha, isn't it? So Garalakantha or Nilakantha, because he holds, even today for iconography, he holds the poison here because it was destructive to the whole world. So all these have come from Sagar Mathan, and Dhanvantari has also appeared from Sagar Mathan, and who we call today the father of Ayurveda. So there is a huge story. So through the classical dance, obviously, on Ayurveda Day, I try to tell, these stories. Anything we can tell, Sanjeevani. In Ramayana, we have the mention of, Hanuman going in search of Sanjeevani mountain because obviously he had to get some herbs. And these can be, of course, what is this? Why that herb was necessary? Even it is mentioned in our epics as well. So herb, Ayurveda, use of herbs in that context. So we can link our heritage, culture, and the epics, the stories that have, and then link the contemporary context also, and then tell a lot of stories like that. So so I'll just show you what we have done. Is we have participated in what is called as global water dance. This happens once in 2 years. So of course we have danced not in those typical classical dance costumes, but obviously differently, and near a water body, because it is Jalaanjali. And we've done this 2 years ago, and this year we again have later this month we again have Jalaanjali, global water dancing. And as I said, you can use art for environmental advocacy. So we, as I said, Jalaanjali I mentioned, and this is in British Parliament. One of the pictures we have done with all party parliamentary group on water at House of Lords, and we do it every year. This is only one of the pictures from one of the events that we have done. So coming back to our regional dances, tribal dances, some research has happened within my say whatever is humanly possible, they say. So trying to highlight and where possible support and preserve our unique local cultures, tribal cultures, folk cultures. So what we have tried to show, there are definitely some very, very popular dancing in different states. I'm talking about different states, very popular dancers. So the minute you think of that state, something else comes. So when you say Maharashtra, what comes to your mind is Legend. What comes to your mind is Lavani. But there are a lot of Adivasi, Nandurbar side, you have Adivasi dances also. So we try to, showcase Pawra dance from Dhule district in one of the events. And similarly, we have researched on Siddi dance. Siddis are actually the migrants to India from Eastern Africa. The non-Indians, I'm talking about the proper, East Africans. And this is again some 300-400-year-old story. They have not come recently. They have come, the trade ships between India and the African and the Middle East countries that we have, the trade ships. On those trade ships, the traders used to bring boys. Traders used to bring helpers and people to support, etc. So that way, through the trade ships, they have come to India, Siddhis, and they rose to fame. We talk about Bajirao Mastani, that movie is very famous, and Pinka dance is also very famous. But actually, Peshwas, they actually have given them states. There is a state, today it is not there, called Sachin, not Sachin Tendulkar, Sachin. It's a state. Okay. And the Siddhis have actually been made because they are very strong in stature. Even later times also, 30 years, 20 years ago also, 20, 30 years ago, the government of India has actually encouraged them to participate in sports quite a lot, in Commonwealth Games. And some of them have done really well. They have got gold medals and silver medals because of their DNA, because of their, the strength and the resilience in the body. So they are suited to certain kinds of activities. So Siddhis have migrated. Okay, so Maharashtra at that time, Bombay port. So from there, obviously, at that time, Gujarat was not there. It was Bombay presidency. So obviously, a lot of Siddhis, and due to Sachin also, you have more people there. And after Gujarat has formed, the independent state of Gujarat has formed in Bhavnagar, Jamnagar. There you find, by their physical appearance, you will know, Ghungru Bal, and then the facial features. You will know that they probably are outside India. And but they speak Gujarati, they speak local language, and Siddhis have migrated that way. So one set of Siddhis have settled there in Gujarat. Probably in Bombay still you have one or two streets where Siddhis are living, and then some of them have come to, especially border areas, Maharashtra, Karnataka border areas. They have come to south. Today it is Karnataka. So we have showcased that dance. Huge history. Again, it is not, see, dance finishes in 5 minutes. Especially these type of dances are never more than 5 minutes, because you are just doing a tribal dance. It's not a huge story where, you're telling 45 minutes, 50 minutes, you're telling a certain story. There are several characters and Rama comes, Lakshmana comes, Krishna comes. It's not like that. So, but to create these pieces, obviously there's a huge work, intellectual work, as well as a lot of resources are necessary. You have to connect with that particular tribal community and work with them, along with them, empowering ourselves, because our knowledge is increasing here, empowering the audiences, because the awareness among the audiences is also raising, right? So it's basically a collective empowerment, I would say. So Siddhi dance of Karnataka, exactly those are the costumes that they use. We have to also source the costumes, isn't it? Exactly, not compromising on them. And then we have done this again in British Parliament House. You can see the Nepalese ambassador there. And so Mathuri dance of Telangana. Again, I remember, on a lighter vein, I remember when I first mentioned this Mathuri dance, somebody thought it was Madhuri Dixit's dance. And this is true. I'm not joking. This is true. They thought it was Madhuri Dixit's dance. And because she was obviously very, very popular and very well known, they were expecting some, Ek Do Teen or something like that. And when we started talking about them further, as we, progressed, and we started rehearsing, and then, showing them this would be the costume, and this would be what they would be, how they would be wearing, and, that cone and all that. They were surprised. They said, oh, we thought it was Madhuri Dixit dance. Impact of, huge impact of Bollywood on us. So Mathuri dance of Telangana in Adilabad district. It's very, very particular and huge community, huge tribal community, very beautiful dance, and beautiful, obviously, this cone, Koppu Lambadi they are called as. So it's quite a famous group there. I mean, big group in Adilabad district. So, and then for the first time on British soil, so to say, we've presented Garo dance of Meghalaya. Especially when we talk about Northeast, there are multiple tribal dances within the same state. So states like Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Manipur, they have 10, 12, 15 different tribal dances with different outfits and different, obviously, subcultures in the same state. So we've done this for International Dance Day 2 years ago. So Garo dance of Meghalaya, this is how the costume and everything looks like. And again, coming back to Telangana, Lambadi dance, these are the migrants from Rajasthan originally, some 150 years ago or so. They have come down to South in search of their livelihoods. So, but then Lambadis are like part and parcel of Telangana culture, especially if you're from Hyderabad, Nalgonda, that areas. you will see them literally, on the streets as selling something. They are street vendors, so they will be selling certain things. So beautiful. Beautiful attire, beautiful, very vibrant music, and look at their bangles and look at their, the mirrored work, and beautiful. Okay, so Miji, dance of Arunachal Pradesh, Miji, and this is very close to my heart. I went to Arunachal Pradesh myself 2 years ago, roughly. Two years ago. So I have met the culture minister. I have engaged with Apatani tribe, which is in Zero Valley. Zero Valley is around 250, roughly about 250. We're almost near Bhutan. So even within Arunachal Pradesh, it's almost end of India. It's almost end of India where, you have the Zero Plateau. So I went to Zero Valley, met Apatani tribals, noted their dance steps, did some videos, spoken to them. They all can speak Hindi, by the way. And they're very proud of being part of India. Okay. So Miji dance of Arunachal Pradesh is what we have showcased here. Again, very first time on British soil. And coming back to South again, Soara dance. Soaras are again a very big group in Odisha, but they actually live in upper part of Andhra, so the coastal Andhra, Vijayanagaram, Vizag, that side, and it goes into it goes into Odisha. So that belt, what I mean to say is that belt is where Savaras is what they say in Andhra, and Soaras is what they call in Odisha. So huge group again. You have to consider India is the second largest population in the world, out of which roughly about 10% is forest people. So imagine such a huge diversity we have, such a rich, tapestry of regional dances that we have, which we can ourselves cherish. Forget about showing it to Western audiences. First of all, we have to appreciate, we have to cherish ourselves, raise our own knowledge base and our own awareness. Then it's wonderful. So, and then of course, on Trafalgar Square, Diwali, and at a few other places also, we have presented what is called as Rongmei dance of Manipur. Manipur also has more than 10-12 tribal dances, all different. So, and the next one, we obviously, due to pandemic, we couldn't do, but we wanted to do Tangkhul dance, the next one. So Rongmei dance of Manipur, we have done on the square. So during the Diwali celebrations on Trafalgar Square. And again, quite beautiful. This is from the huge screen. The photograph has been clicked. Okay. And of course, I told you, the time, within the time, just wanted to squeeze. So we can talk about the role of dance and movement in community well-being. We have done, for example, this was National Fitness Day, where, certain postures that we use in dance are actually, even in martial arts, the basic position that they take, the bend, aramandi. So it was a very interesting session that we have done again in British Parliament, and you can see one of the MP, the host MP here. So we talk about yoga, the yogic poses. Shiva is the Adi Yogi, they say, the first yogi, and there are certain postures. Even Lord Shiva has we see in Karanas. So there is this interlink between all these. So we've shown that interlink between yoga, martial arts, and so, and Hunger Day is what we have celebrated. And Hunger Day, the story of Akshaya Patra. And why not? It is a very, very important story in our epic, where Akshaya Patra, we know by the name. And I suspect some of us do not know the story behind it. So, we marked Hunger Day, and we spoke about the holiday hunger. Of course, we were focusing on Britain. Even in Britain, we have children going hungry. School holidays, they don't get their free meals. They go hungry. So a lot of poverty, a lot of, there are communities who cannot afford food during certain parts of the year. So we spoke about holiday hunger. We spoke about, very important, the Felix project and all, which are trying to help the homeless, feeding the homeless. We have a lot of asylum seekers and homeless people in Britain. So we spoke about that, and we danced on the story of Akshay Patra and sun, the sun, obviously, Surya Deva. So, and building communities through cultural understanding, because especially when we live abroad, it is also important that we appreciate each other, respect each other, understand each other. And if that acceptance will come when we understand each other's culture, understand each other's, norms. And dance can be used as medium. So this is what we have done with 4 different other countries. We have done with Sri Lanka, Nepal, Maldives, of course, India. You can see all those ambassadors sitting here, and the Lords and the Baroness Verma. So we've done that. We've showcased Pahadi dance of Bangladesh, and we've done that, and I think we've done well on that front. So very quickly now, we've spoken on dance and on music. Going back to the types of instruments or Natya Shastra and several other texts, we have 4 types of Atodya. Atodya means instruments, instrumentation. So we have Tata, Avanadha, Ghana, and Susira. So very quickly, just to mention, Tata are stringed instruments. So Veena, sitar, later North India has developed sitar, and stringed instruments basically, where you use ektara and all those tanpura, tambura, etc. Then you have Avnadha. Avnadha again have thousands of years of history and presence. Percussion instruments, membranous instruments. So the mridangam, tabla is again very, very recent, and again product of North Indian music. But we have mridangam, Maddela in Karnataka, Andhra, Telangana, that's at South India, basically. And you have Nagada, as I said, Nagada, and several other, the small, the big, several instruments. And it will be very interesting. This time, if you go to, temples like Konark, Hampi, Belur, lot of, we have structurally beautiful edifices, temples, not necessarily to pray, but, as sculptural, architectural wonders we have. Tanjavur, Brihadishwara temple, etc. Try to observe the sculpture individually, that is. You find them holding some instruments. You find them dancing. You find them, in fine arts, basically. So it will be very interesting to go ahead and do that. So Ghana, metal instruments, like in bhajans, we use cymbals, right? So those metal instruments. And of course, you have Susira, wind instruments, Vamshi, Venu, the flute and Shehnai and all those wind instruments. So 4 types of instruments. And what we have to also know is there is a mention of what is called, we don't find the text anymore, we lost it, Ragachikitsa. Modern day psychiatrists and other practitioners say music therapy. This so-called music therapy, the phenomenon of music therapy has developed in last, say, 40 years, 50 years, okay, 60 years, 100 years, okay, even if you are trying to be very generous, not more than a century. But Ragachikitsa has been there 5,000 years ago, thousands of years ago. Okay, so using certain ragas, using certain, certain notes, etc., the ups and downs of the music for ailments, for treating ailments, especially, and of course there have been scholars and a lot of people have really worked on it quite a bit. So different ragas can be used, Punnagavarali, for example. Punnagavarali can be used in anger management, for example. Yeah, so Malhar, even Malhar, because it calms down, that is used by psychiatrists and psychologists. They are used in treating anger management, etc. So mostly psychological, mostly mental. So different ragas are used in non-clinical settings. Now, non-clinical settings means we are not talking about treating them exclusively with ragas, but these are used. Okay, these are used. In no way we can say, at least as a dancer, I wouldn't say this will completely replace the medication, completely replace the, the tablets or the capsules that you take. I wouldn't say that, but this has a major role. And in post-operative, when there are serious surgeries, hip surgeries, cancer treatments, radiology, very painful treatments. Luckily, most of us are fine, but there are people, unfortunately, who undergo chemotherapies and surgeries, serious surgeries. We are not talking about small surgeries. We are talking about, knee replacement or, that kind of surgeries, where the post-operative, the pain that they undergo is huge. And some people give up actually because they can't take that pain anymore. So the music therapy, Ragachikitsa, the music therapy is used to actually alleviate, to bring down that that experience, the painful experience. So when the mind calms down, when you can, because if you have pain, if any of us have any pain, even headache, for example, we can't sleep. Right? So sleep is very important. So ragas are used in calming down so that insomnia or any such, the feeling of pain can be reduced and one can sleep better. And that's how, the condition can be treated. And also in children, I think I'll show you the slide. That will be better. So in non-clinical settings, I said that because ragas have curative properties and they have stimulative properties. So Ragachikitsa is used in treating anxiety, in anxiety reduction, and migraines, insomnia, sleeplessness. And especially what I have seen, I live abroad as well. So what I have seen is this is used for children with Downs, children with learning difficulties, you can show this. This is obviously one hasta in dance, fish, basically, Matsya. Okay, so we use in obviously in Matsya Avtara and all that, but this is fish, right? So you can actually show water, you can show the fish, and they can relate. This is how we try to communicate with children with learning difficulties. So we can say fish, we can say flowers, you're searching for your friend. Where is your friend? We are looking for your friend. So use the dance gestures can be used, dance and movement can be used in treating certain children with learning difficulties. And also motor, in Parkinson's, for example, movement is important, where when you constantly do yoga. What is yoga? Why people doing yoga and meditation are healthier than the others, isn't it? So it's about those movements, postures, muscular strength, etc. So those motor capacities can be restored in Parkinson's. So dance and music, dance therapy and music therapy, I wanted to combine both in this slide. So dance therapy and music therapy can be used to address more contemporary context, to address these things. So it's not just about getting on the stage and dancing some historical theme or something. It's more meaningful, more helpful, even for the contemporary context. So I feel we have miles to go in this direction, in this context. So much to do. So they say known is a drop and unknown is the ocean. So much to do, using our arts, using our performing arts, particularly dance. And of course, I'm not a singer, I'm not a musician, but I would say music is equally important for us. So including the ragas, and we have Shankarabharana raga, or as I said, different ragas can be used for treating different things. And people can take it up as a subject, and why not take it as a subject? And that way, when you become a therapist, you are actually doing quite a bit for the community, for the society. So with this, I think I will conclude. And if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
So we have a question from Rajashri Vasudevan. She is a disciple of Padma Bhushan Dr. Padma Subramaniam from Chennai. And her question is, in which chapters is the word Desi used in the Natya Shastra? As far as my knowledge goes, the system in the text is called Marga. Desi came later in the medieval ages after Brahadesi.
Yeah, so Deshi and Margi, they are mentioned in Natya Shastra itself. I think it's chapter 4. chapter 4, I think it's mentioned, but I can give you the correct shloka, the correct. Margi has always been there. As I said, classical dancing, the emphasis was a lot on classical dance, and Jurjhuti or Jarjari, I think. Yes. Jarjari is a Desi form. These Desi Nrityas are mentioned over centuries. We are not talking about just one particular text, over centuries. And that's what I said. When Abhinava Gupta or all these people where we find chapters on dance, even Sangeeta Ratnakara, for example. So when we find these dance chapters, even which are based on Natya Shastra, but then again, they have added the contemporary, the what they see. If they are from east, they are from west, they are from north, they have added their own knowledge of the region, their own, but Natya Shastra has always mentioned there are regional styles. That's exactly what I said. So you have Audra Magadi, you have Panchala Madhyama, you have all these 4 styles. And some of the names are mentioned, which I think I'm not ready with the names. They're not just coming to me as such. But as I said, we lost them. We don't have those styles anymore. They are mentioned. They're archaic for us. They are mentioned in the texts, but we don't find them in practice. Whereas some have probably, survived with some other rupantaram. That means the name would have changed quite a bit. Over 2000 years, 1000 years, 300 years, a lot is possible. But yes, regional styles are mentioned, which are Desi. Not the term necessarily Desi, but the mention of regional styles. Vrittis and pravrittis are definitely mentioned in Natya Shastra. And if my memory serves me right, it is in chapter 4, but I will confirm.
Amit ji, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Ragasudha ji, thank you for a very excellent presentation. My question is slightly off topic, related to dance, and it's also for the benefit of the audience as well. I was reading a book, it's about okay, I'll focus on the question. So the question is, what about the cultural appropriation that takes place with, say, the Indian dances? I'll give you an example, say, for example, what I read from this book was that non-Hindu practitioners of the dance, they learn the dance, but however, when they tend to teach it, or when they reach a certain level of expertise or are considered experts, they tend to disregard the origin of the dance, or the Hindu origin, I would say, or the Indian origin, and they refuse to accept it that it has come from, say, the culture of Bharat. So how do we, this is, it has been there. In Chennai, there is a very famous museum, dance academy, and one of the persons, the person in question I read about was Leela Samson. So this person, she literally had removed the say the Nataraja Murtis from the academy, because not to focus on, say, the Indian origin of the dance. So how do you focus on attacking that? What should be done, and how can the audience be also aware of this? So so that because it's part of ours. You cannot, you can acknowledge it, but you have to learn it, but you have to acknowledge what is ours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very, very nice question. See, for example, we have headache, or we have a delivery at home. A baby girl or a baby boy has been born, and immediately, when you are looking for addressing it, suppose I have headache. Okay, now somebody says, okay, take Nurofen. Somebody says, "Arey ye le lo. I'm coughing. Okay, haldi wala doodh le lo." So I don't say that certain things are not effective, but what I'm trying to say is individuals or practitioners, what they want to do, okay, is always in their hands and minds, obviously. So their choices individually should not be blurring or should not be decimating something like that. Okay, for example, again, I'm saying, today science has advanced so much. We have what we had 200, 300, 400 years ago, what we did not have at that time, we have today. What has come 300 years ago perhaps was not there 1,000 years ago. So we have been advancing a lot. So today, when we have advanced so much in science, we still go back when it comes to, say, gravitational, theory of gravitation. We still have, that is based on an experience called, okay, the apple has fallen down. So why has it fallen down? So this is the theory behind it, etc. So, I know that I'm just giving a very different non-dance example, but this is what it is. Theory has been there, but theory probably will be improvised. Based on the theory, we do a lot of things, and a lot of stories when it comes to margi dances, a lot of classical dances we are talking about, repertoire. So we have a margam. Okay, so the repertoire, most of them, excepting the pure dance, excepting the nutta part, they are based in this, deeply grounded in the stories of our epics, our culture, our heritage. Now, while 90% of us take to it, okay, now it is not about believing, not believing, and again, the to the extent of, okay, this is not there, that has not been there, this is a creation, this is invention, whatever I'm talking about. But they are very deeply spiritual compositions. All right. So if somebody is not following it, okay, it is their individual decision. This is not the whole fraternity doing or the as I said, because you use the word cultural appropriation, I would use the word cultural consumption. Yeah. So what is there, we are consuming. We must consume. Okay. So if I have a glass of milk and I know milk is healthy for me, rather than going into details of which exact cow has given this milk, or which exact, kaun si bhai se ye doodh aaya. I feel sometimes some exaggerations are there, or some overstepping is there, and it's their choice. It's dance is, as far as dance is concerned, it's prone to a lot of experimentation on subjects. But as I said, if you don't say Nataraja doesn't exist, or this doesn't exist, that doesn't exist, that is purely a very individual line of thought. I wouldn't even say belief. I would say it is an individual line of thought. And I think it comes under the umbrella of freedom of expression, I feel. But as I said, there is always something that is happening on the other side of the coin. There is always that second side.
Good evening. Thank you, madam, for giving us a great presentation on dance and folk. This thing. My question is, Kathak and Thumri, Chappa, Tarana, these are the different forms of ragas which are used in Hindustani classical music. My question is, this Thumri and Kathak, both goes hand in hand. And why Kathak is in Kathak dances, other forms of Hindustani ragas are not being used, vice versa. Why Thumri can be used for some other forms of dance forms like Bharatanatyam and other things? This is my question.
Vijay Kumarji, somebody not using, I cannot answer. Why they are not using, I cannot tell you. No, I can tell you what I'm using or what I'm not using. So I don't think I'm too qualified or too suitable to exactly answer this, because I told you already, individual choices. Why Thumri is used, or why Thumri is not used, or why this is used, why that is not used. These are, I think, the factors to individual exponents and individual artists. Again, I'm not a Kathak exponent myself. So I probably feel that, they are using their artistic independence and exploration, and they just want to be different from others. That's all I can say at the moment.
Kaushika ji, please go ahead.
Namaste, Ragasudha ji. It was a very interesting presentation. It was nice to get an overall holistic view. I don't have a question as it is, but I wanted to add a couple of points to what you have already told about, like Ragachikitsa. If you see the Natya Shastra and all other texts, it's and the rasas that each raga does bring in forward, those are a good indication of what will happen to our mind when we listen to some combination of notes. So generally the Shuddha, the Vivadi intervals or the Anuvadi intervals or the Samvadi intervals are those that will cause you either your mind to get brighter or sadder, right? So those are used, can be used in as you said, in psychology type of treatments. And I agree that it cannot replace other treatment, but it is to be used in addition. And in the same thing you mentioned about the temple sculptures showing instruments, that was a great example. For all the people over here, I wanted to tell that I gave one seminar about the musical sculptures in the Halebeedu temple, just the Hoysala temple in Halebeedu. It's on YouTube. You can look for that. It's titled, look, if you look at Hoysala sculptures and music or something like that on YouTube, you will find that. And the third comment I want to make is on the previous questioner. I think Sri Vijay Kumar ji asked why certain compositions are not used with, for only Tumri is used in Kathak, why it is not used in Bharatanatyam. Although I'm not a dancer, I can sort of take this and I give my opinion on that, and you can add on to that. Basically, certain kinds of movements go with certain kinds of music. So that is where the dancer makes a judicious choice of what goes well. This also, goes for literature. For example, when I'm writing a verse, I choose a chandas that is that can tell a story very nicely. Not all chandas will match every story that you want to write. Ramayana is primarily written in Anushtup, very simple to read, right? Ramayana and Mahabharata. But that is not the same case with Meghalaya. It is written in a different kind of chandas called Mandakranta. So the reason is what the author wants to do with a particular narration, and he chooses something accordingly. Similarly, I would say Bharatanatyam chooses something like a Tilana or are the compositions that are generally used, a Varna or Jatiswara, while Kathak and Odissi may use different kinds of structures just because of the Sampradaya and how they have proven over time that gives a better Rasa Siddhi than doing random experimentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. See, in this limited time that I have given you, in some of the aspects, I have given you an overview. But if you have to talk only about Ragachikitsa or, Gandharva Veda that we have, Upaveda, okay, because each Veda has an Upaveda. So 4 Vedas have 4 Upavedas, and what comes from Samaveda, which is for music, is Gandharva Veda. So we can have another pure session on music therapy and other things. But having said that, exploration and experimentation is always possible. Nobody can stop you from experiment, right? Because the theory of rasa itself, there is a whole chapter dedicated to rasa, even in Natya Shastra. We are going back to Natya Shastra again and again. But even without going back to texts as such, we enjoy eating something. I enjoy eating mango, so I buy them, I eat them. That joy, that pleasure that I derive in eating certain foods, and I don't enjoy, for example, eating maybe Karela. Something else, some vegetable or some fruit. We all have our tastes. So the Rasa Siddhi, the so-called Rasa Siddhi that you're talking about, depends upon audiences as well, on the consumption. That's why I use the term cultural consumption. Okay, so some people may like something. Some people probably may not take to certain things. I myself, for example, this happened roughly 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago. I have taken a bhajan in Kashmiri language, Peer Myano. It's a very popular bhajan in Kashmiri language. And I said, when Abhinava Gupta, so many centuries ago, has written the most powerful and valuable Tippani, Tika, the commentary on Natya Shastra, which we follow today, okay, from Kashmir. He's a Kashmiri scholar. So I said, why can't we try a classical dance on a Kashmiri bhajan? So I tried that. I enjoyed that. And of course, I have a feeling audiences have also enjoyed, because a lot of people came and said, oh, we never saw this combination. We never thought Bharatanatyam can be done on a Kashmiri bhajan, because there was no takita takadhimi. There was not that, that framework that fits into the Bharatanatyam things. Of course, the mudras and everything that I have used are the Nuttahastas and all are, of course, Bharatanatyam. But the other things that I'm talking about, neither the language nor the meter, as you said, nothing was pure, nothing South Indian as such. So experimentation is always possible. It is the acceptance. It is the acceptance from the audience which makes us either a bone of contention, or or positive figures in their view. But yes, we can always explore. We can do out of the box thinking also with arts within the tradition, but we can still think outside the box. And this is possible with music, with dance, with arts, basically. Thank you.
Pandita Indraniji, please go ahead.
Namaste, madam. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. I am from Trinidad in the Caribbean, so I have a little difference. I want to say that cultural appropriation of traditions, particularly from the sacred realm, is a great challenge we are facing now. You can, in the West, we can call out persons for cultural appropriation. And I've seen, like in dance, people taking the Bharatanatyam, for example, and doing it with a Jesus Christ picture on the stage. And that is digestion and violence and cultural appropriation of part of the ancient Indian tradition. And for example, in Ayurveda, I had treatment in Delhi, and the doctor came, and it was a government hospital, and she was performing the little ritual with the diya and the lighting and so on. And that was keeping, Ayurveda is also medical, but it kept the ancient Indian traditional worldview intact. So I'm very concerned about, you say that acceptance makes it right. And I'm saying it doesn't make it right, because in the Western world here, we are calling out people that are taking things that belong to another group and claiming it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think I have not used that word, making it right at all. I'm sorry if I gave you that opinion. I never said it makes it right. I just said that there is one segment of audiences which is still accepting that. So I was talking only in terms of that acceptance or enjoyment of what is being shown. I did not speak at all. I did not use that word. I did not say that it makes it right. I said tradition has been there. And while we still continue with tradition, there may be, in the name of experimentations or freedom of expression, or all the smart terms that can be coined by others, no such thing will make it right. Okay, but you have people. I have seen myself, a Bharatanatyam dancer doing a jugalbandi with a bhangra performer. Okay, now I will not go and fight with them. I don't even know who they are. I just saw the video and I was thinking, okay, what makes you even do that, for example? So it is, I think it pleases certain segment of audiences, so they would have done. But tradition is tradition. And I know in some areas, let me quote another example to you, which I have actually experienced not very long ago, just recently. Now, in order that the art forms go further, they survive, they go further, definitely, certain support in terms of performing, in terms of, promoting, in terms of spreading, you have various, it's a mechanism. right? It's a mechanism. So organizers have to organize, performers will perform, other means of support that, for some artists, it's the only means of earning. For some art forms, that is all they can do. They can't do anything else. So when opportunities reduce, and I think somewhere it can be used to in the context of cultural appropriation. So when there are no opportunities, if there is an artist who could do this art form, and if he or she doesn't get an opportunity for a year, for example, what will they eat? They have to do something, right? They need some kind of financial flow, the money flow. So in due course of time, as time passes, they will start doing something else. They will do some other job. They go here, they go there, rather than the tradition. They'll do something else, because ultimately it is a matter of survival. Not everybody will say, I will die, but I will only do this. Very few people do that, okay, because there are families, children, their education, their upbringing, their marriages. So it's not that easy. It's easier said than done. So in some contexts, depending upon, this is all again geopolitics. This is all geopolitics again. So sometimes some art forms are not given the platform. They are not given the appreciation. They are, when things don't happen in that direction, like the languages die, art forms also die. So, but unfortunately, that is, I think recently I've spoken to somebody who said, oh, okay, there are some students in some numbers who are coming out of the interest and out of love and out of curiosity, but we don't get to perform a lot. We don't get funds, we don't get support, we don't get and for many artists, while money may be one aspect, the second aspect is the artists want to communicate with audiences. They would like to perform, they would like to showcase, highlight some subject, something, their own art, their own ability, their own talent. When that doesn't happen, it drives them crazy, some of them. So it is apparently happening in some quarters, that they don't get much opportunities, probably lack of interest from the I don't know, from the government, from the administration, from the other local audiences as well. There is no demand. So when you don't have people coming and watching you, obviously organizers also will think twice, because for them it would be, rather than the emotion and the passion, it would be more in terms of what it creates, what value it creates in terms of money, in terms of other things. So as I say, there are always two sides of the coin, and we all should do what we can. Okay, you see that there is something happening out there, talk about it, write about it, raise your voice. Yeah, write to appropriate people, write to media, write an article, publish a book on it, do something. I think we should not limit ourselves to these 20 people, 30 people, 50 people discussion, because the topic is so deep and large. And I come from South. I speak Telugu predominantly. So in Telugu, there is a beautiful word, jadyam. Jadyam is like, there is no appropriate English word for that. It's like an infection. It's like a disease. You see, jadyam, they say. Very, very nice word. So when you see that, in probably in Hindi, to some extent, not the translation, but to some extent, you can say Dimak. They destroy. What do Dimak do? They are not any positive, agency there. They just eat away. You can't see them, but you can see the impact. You can see that there is a lot of damage being done to your papers, your books, your trees, your whatever, Dimak ke jaise. So I think there is a sense of responsibility and duty for us also, as artists, as citizens, wherever we are, as writers, as responsible people in the society. We should do something towards it, right? We should try. That's why I say, identify today after the seminar as a take-home message. If that that jagruti, that awareness is created, that realization is created, and you try to do something, try to identify some art form, something very local, some handicraft. Of course, dance and music is always there, but I'm saying anything that you could do to your own, where your roots are, where your cultural roots are. We are all living abroad, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever. But we still are. I am called a British Indian. I hold a British passport, but my identity doesn't go. I'm a British Indian, and I will remain so for another 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, whatever my lifetime is. And we are also. So identify some art form, some artist, something, and then try to highlight it, bring it to more audiences, support them. As I said, we can publish books. That's what we do with languages. We encourage the local community. We have different communities, linguistic communities of India. So we encourage them. We encourage them to write some poem, something. So we can bring all of that as a Kadambamala, and then we try to publish that. What it takes to publish a 50-page or a 100-page book. It's not a multi-million pound, it's not a dream project or something. We all can do 200, 300, 400 pounds, or in your cases, maybe 500, 600,000 dollars. We can do once in 6 months. Why not? We can all do, because certain things are related to financial resources. We can't move away from it. You want to do something, time, intellect, these are all the resources, right? And money. Of course, money is also important. So we can all do in a very small way. I'm not saying, you have to do big things only. Do small. Wherever you come from, you may come from Bihar, you may come from wherever you may come from. Identify something that we can, give some oxygen to it. Make it live for a little longer than it is today. And we all can do. I'm sure we all can do.